Hi, my name's Rachel. Welcome back to my channel. Today I have another Shadow and Bone video for you. Surprise, surprise. So today we are talking about the fact that I am just so pleased because the Shadow and Bone TV show by Netflix did end up redeeming the character of Mal Oretsev for me. So let's go ahead and break that down. So I have done a video previously, which I will link down below, about all the reasons why I cannot stand book Mal Oretsev in the entire Shadow and Bone trilogy. Just from the jump, I cannot stand Mal, and it really stems from the writing. Not that Leigh Bardugo is a bad writer by any means, but for some reason she made some choices about Mal that I just could not get down with. From the jump, Mal flirts with a lot of people, ends up having sexual relationships with characters, and not that that's a bad thing, but if he's going to be the love interest, it's just a little confusing to have him really interested in other women and then only be interested in Alina once she is away from him, shows that she has Grisha powers, and then ends up in the little palace, and suddenly he realizes now that she is being looked at by the rest of the world. Now he can see her. That never sat right with me. I didn't like his portrayal, and when they met back up, he was an absolute dick to her for the majority of the rest of the book. He's not even really present for a lot of the book. That's another issue I had with it, is that when we do see him, he's not great, and then when we don't see him, all we're hearing about is how great he is from Alina and how much she loves him, but we don't really have any reason to love him, so it just doesn't make the basis for a great relationship that you can root for. So right from the jump, the show decided to redeem the beginning of the book of Shadow and Bone by changing the things that I had problems with. There was this weird juxtaposition of him flirting with and sleeping with other women, including Zoya, asking for Alina's advice on how to woo Zoya, while simultaneously saying, just a couple chapters later, "I'll meet you in the meadow," to Alina. Like, bro, are you into her? Are you not into her? Make up your mind. Maybe don't sleep with other people if you're interested in Alina. Speaking of Zoya, there's a scene where Mal sees Alina being picked on, not given food by the First Army cooks, and he goes to steal food for her, which was super sweet. Side note, and I did talk about this in my episode breakdown, but I'm going to leave linked down below a few Twitter threads by reviewers of the show who are of the Asian community and decided to break down why having the racism and xenophobia portrayed the way that it was surrounding the shoe was so uncomfortable for them. I'm white, I can't comment on it. If you are also not within the Asian community, I recommend that you go read the threads. I wouldn't say go engage with them at all. I just think that it's important that we do listen, and I encourage you to listen to Own Voices reviewers on things like this. We can both love something and criticize it. It's okay to be critical of things that we love. So he sees her being picked on by the First Army cooks for being Shu, and he decides to go steal her some food from the Grisha tent. So he comes across Zoya, who he flirts with, but instead of being an idiot, he goes and meets Alina and gives her the food that he stole for her. This greatly differs from the book. As I said, in the first couple of chapters, he goes and asks Alina for advice on how to woo Zoya, which was so uncomfortable when you're in Alina's head and she's talking about how into Mal she is. I've never understood why that had to happen. I've always hated it. Everything in the show was mutual. So rather than her just being super into him, they clearly both had mutual feelings for each other, but were not sure how to address it equally, and I really appreciated that. So when they finally do meet back up, rather than how it was in the books where he makes everything a competition and says, "Did you think of me, Alina?" And she said, "Yeah, I thought of you every day when we were apart." And he's like, "Well, I thought of you every hour," which was so gross and unnecessary of him and just petty, and I hated it. They left that out entirely, and I could not appreciate it more. Mal really only had two good moments in the book. The part where he says, "I'll always find you," after Alina says, "Hey Mal, thanks for finding me." And right before he's about to be sacrificed to the Volcra, they get thrown in jail together by the Darkling, and he makes some jokes, and that's really the only times that I found him lovable in the books. And they took those things and they expanded on it and took out everything that I had problems with. So him being understanding with her about the mistakes that she had made, which she's talking about her starting a sort of relationship with the Darkling, that's just a huge difference from how he was in the book, where he prioritized his jealousy and his pettiness and his spite and made that trip to go find the stag so miserable for the both of them. Instead, they made him so endearing by them just having a conversation and him being like, "Hey, I understand." Phenomenal. Like, it was so easy for them to fix these small issues that I had that ended up piling on top of each other and making me hate book Mal. So that small moment was just so huge to me and made him so endearing. Another small moment that made a huge difference was a huge problem I had in the book was, again, when they're on their way to go find the stag together, he gets annoyed with her about how hard she is to feed now, because previously, before she had her powers, he always made fun of her. She didn't really have any appetite. She was always sickly. But now that she's a sun summoner and using her Grisha powers, her body is able to be, normal, and she's able to eat normally. And he comments on that and says, it's not bad. I'm just saying it's nice that you're able to eat now.
You really developed an appetite, didn't you? That's new. Not bad. I'm saying it looks good on you.
That was so endearing and beautiful to me. I could not be happier with it. They also took out the part of, not just in general, of him being a dick to her on the entire trip to go find the stag, but this particular part that bothered me where he wasn't nice to her until they came upon some guys who, one of them actually tried to sexually assault Alina. So she kicks the guy in the nuts, and then after that, Mal decides to be happy with her. And it's like, so you're only happy now that she kicked a dude in the nuts who was going to sexually assault her? I don't like it. So I appreciated that that was taken out entirely. Another thing that the show did was they actually made him funny consistently. So there's this part where they're finding out who's going into the fold, and he says, there's nothing to fear. I will now be drawing names for the nightmare lottery. This made Alina laugh. It made me laugh. And I appreciate that he tried to play off him being scared with humor rather than taking out his negative emotions on Alina. As I said, Mal was missing for a huge chunk of the book. And one of the ways in which I said that they could make Mal redeemed was by having his perspective, and they did that, and I'm so pleased that they did. We only get small glimpses of him when he was separated from Alina in the book via the letters that he wrote her that she never received. So the show was really smart putting him in every episode, making him a main character, and actually showing us what he went through trying to get back to her. It made him very human, giving him on-screen friendships with Mikhail and Dubrov that clearly meant a great deal to him. We heard about these in passing more than anything, and when Mikhail and Dubrov end up dying while they're searching the north for the stag, it's told in such a passive way that we really have no feelings toward it as the reader, but seeing their relationship cultivated and then seeing it end the way it did and seeing Mal process that made him so lovable. And they gave him not only human interactions with Mikhail and Dubrov, but I love this team up with him and the crows, and this conversation between him and the Darkling, where his main concern isn't his jealousy over the Darkling's relationship with Alina, but rather telling the Darkling that he's obsessed with power. Also, and thank goodness for this, whoever made this decision, I thank you. They took out the grossest line that I could not stand at the end of the book, where he gives Alina new clothes when they're on the run, and he says that he made sure not to get her black clothes because he never wants to see her wear black again. I can't stand that he thought he could dictate what she could wear just because her wearing black reminded him of her time with the Darkling. I found that so misogynistic and nasty. So thank goodness to whoever wrote this. I appreciate you. You are the real MVP. And instead of focusing on what she was wearing, it made it clear at the end that he was trying to make Alina's dream come true of destroying the fold while also prioritizing keeping them safe. Overall, it just made it clear that he deeply cared about her and protecting her. The way that he talked to her when she was about to enter the fold was so well done because it wasn't coming from a place of being patriarchal or misogynistic, talking down to her. He just deeply cared for her, not because she was a woman going into the fold, but because that's his best friend and he's willing to sacrifice himself by going into the fold, but he's not willing to sacrifice her. It did show a small struggle that he had with understanding why she would have kept having powers from him. Then when they finally meet up, they had them communicate that quickly and come to an understanding instead of allowing him to simmer about it across 3 freaking books, which I so appreciate. And last but certainly not least, they made their romance slow burn. There's no actual scenes of them saying their romantic feelings for each other, let alone any sort of like kissing or anything of that nature. I appreciate this because I love a good slow burn romance, and it personally makes me root for the romance more, hoping to see in the next season them finally tell each other, hey, I love you as more than a friend. I can't wait. So yes, the show did redeem Mal. I'm so pleased. Thank you to whoever did this. You are my hero. I appreciate you finally making me a Malina stan, which I have always dreamed to be. I am become a simp. Let me know in the comments if you have become a simp as well, or if you're still a Darklina stan, or if you like her with Nikolai, which I know is sometimes people's point of view, but personally I'm so into Nikolai with Zoya that I can't even see them together. Nikolai and Alina just does not work for me. Let me know all your thoughts. Thanks for watching. Make sure you like and subscribe, and I will see you next time. Bye.